Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. AITA for wanting to move away and not looking after my parents. I, 27 female, have two elder brothers, 41 female and 39 male, who have abused my parents' generosity for years. My parents attempted to set up my siblings since they were high school dropouts who had no idea what they wanted to do with their lives. They built eateries and helped them out of debt, only to plunge themselves into much more trouble later on. My sister has finally matured and established a successful company, but she overspends. She attempted to borrow $50,000, but I knew she wouldn't pay it back, so I declined. She then attempted to make me feel awful by referring to me as a horrible sister. My brother is still a moron who has amassed a $500,000 debt and writes letters to my parents' home hoping they would bail him out again. Unfortunately, my parents are no longer able to work owing to injuries. I didn't dare to seek my parents for financial assistance since they were already overburdened by my siblings, so I went to university on benefits. Every time I saved a few $1,000s, a debt collector would come knocking since my brother was chronically late with his payments. So, whenever the debt collectors started calling, I paid what I had saved over and over again while I was studying because I felt bad for my parents. When I graduated, I had to relocate for work and had a deal with my parents in which I paid in advance for their mortgage, and they paid me back in a big amount, about $30K, when I returned. I returned 18 months later, and they had not kept their half of the bargain. They attempted to explain their behavior by claiming that when they died, they would leave me their life insurance and home with a hefty mortgage. I was sad for a long time since the money was supposed to assist with living costs when I returned to school. Now, my parents have informed me that they will be canceling their life insurance since they can no longer pay it. That was great with me, but I then questioned, which of your three children has given you the most financial trouble? My mother said, your brother, to which I replied, get him to care after you, and it's their fault for investing in the wrong kid. They are now furious with me, claiming that it was a waste of time raising me since I'm not an obedient daughter. As a result, I responded by claiming that they had stolen the money I needed to study from me. My mother attempted to minimize everything, telling me that it was in the past and that I should let it go. I intend to relocate, even to a foreign country, and live in a low-contact environment. Despite this, I'm willing to give them a tiny sum of money every now and then, which they probably won't appreciate since they aren't great gestures like my sisters. So, how about AITA? Edit 1. After the $30,000 event, I quit financially supporting my family roughly 7 years ago. The debt collectors occurred while I was a naive and relatively sheltered adolescent. My brother persuaded my mother to take out some of the debts in her name. My parents were both miserable, and my mother was contemplating suicide. I was also concerned that it might lead to us losing our house. Edit 2. I am in good financial and mental health. I just wanted to know whether AITA would be okay with my moving out and not caring for my parents in their old age, which will happen at the end of this year when I purchase a property. Story 2. AITA for telling my mom that she's the cause of all my brother's problems. It is my sister, 30 years old, and a younger sibling that are the source of my concerns at this time, 17 male. Despite the fact that she was a single mother, our parents separated while she was pregnant with my brother. My mother was a wonderful mother to both me and my sister. When it came to raising my brother, however, my mother's attitude shifted considerably, to the point that I offered to raise my brother instead. As a result, my brother, who is presently a junior in high school, suffers from low self-esteem issues, which are especially pronounced in connection to his appearance and weight. He was a chubby baby, and my mother used to say hurtful things to him, which I feel had a negative impact on his self-esteem. My sister and I used to call him adorable, beautiful, and other such compliments, but our mother's words had a much bigger influence on him than ours. To put things into perspective for you, consider the following. He is 6'1" and underweight, and he is objectively beautiful. Nonetheless, he believes that he is ugly and or overweight. I'm a 5'8" girl who weighs more than he does, and I'm in excellent physical condition. But despite everything, he is still a cheerful and talkative youngster who loves our mother, which only serves to fuel my fury. Let us now turn our attention to the issue. Due to fatigue, I fell asleep on the couch after making a mess in the kitchen while doing some baking the day before. I completely forgot to clean up after myself. The moment my mother became aware of the mess, she shouted at my brother, who responded by promising to clean it up and saying he was sorry. His actions were nearly an admission of guilt for something he did not do, and when I discovered this, I informed my mother, who claimed it was her fault, but she said it was okay. Despite my pleadings, she refused to apologize on his behalf, explaining that he was a male and she didn't have to. I became enraged and warned her that if she continued doing this, her son would do something catastrophic. She stated she wasn't doing anything, and I remarked something like, "Seriously, you are essentially the source of all of his troubles." I also referred to her as a bad mother. She became enraged. "I didn't go through all this garbage for my own kid to choose a boy's side of her own mother's," she said. She made many gender-based statements, such as, "You're a female, you should take my side," and "He's a god, he deserves it," among others. She then went to her room and fell asleep. To be honest, I'm simply puzzled right now. Also, although I don't regret sticking up for my brother, I think I should have avoided blaming her for all of his problems since it's a large charge and she's visibly offended. I'm wondering whether I should have been more mature. Plus, she wasn't a horrible mother to either me or my sister, so maybe that was uncalled for as well. But, Ada, why do you blame my mother for all of my brother's problems? Update. So, no one actually requested for an update, but I was bored and figured, hey, why not? First and foremost, after reading your responses, I believe the reason my mother is so cruel to my brother is a combination of his resemblance to my father and his gender. But I don't know for certain. Now for the latest news, I went to chat to my brother, who was in his room, a little after I posted the post. He was fine, but when I asked him how he felt about, well, everything, he burst into tears. My heart was shattered into a million pieces. I realized then that he couldn't remain with our mother any longer. So I contacted my 5-year-old lover and asked if my brother and I could stay with him for a while. He has the necessary room, and my brother gets along with him, so he consented. My mother didn't give a she didn't even kiss him goodbye. She asked if I may remain but totally overlooked the fact that my brother was there. I tried my utmost to remain cool and not yell at her, but the way she was behaving was so cruel. According to my sister, my mother continues to make disparaging remarks about my brother even when he is not around, so being calm is quite difficult right now. Anyway, I also phoned my father and essentially told him everything. He was irritated at first since no one had told him this before, and he would not have left any of us in another nation if he had known. But he calmed down and chatted to my brother for almost an hour. And by the time he hung up, my brother was crying with excitement and happiness. It's still uncertain if my father will visit, if my brother will move, or how it will go from here on out due to you-know-what, but I can guarantee you that my mother will never be able to say anything to my brother again. Unfortunately, I am unable to place my brother in treatment due to a lack of funds, but I will attempt to speak with one of my friends who is well versed in the field of mental health and see if I can assist my brother. Thank you to everyone who contributed their 2 cents. Edit, Jesus, please. Thank you so much for your advice, knowledge, awards, really, whoa, generosity, and everything else. I've considered everything and attempted to react to as many responses as possible. There are much too many. I'm going to conduct some study and check into getting my brother some assistance. I'd also want to mention that if you're going through or have gone through anything similar, I'm cheering for you. I know many of you aren't religious, but I'm keeping you all in my prayers. Seriously. Thank you so much for everything, and I wish you everyone a good day/night.